The Detroit Lions may already be looking for David Montgomery's replacement in the 2025 NFL Draft. Let's talk about it. Hi, Mike Payton with A to Z Sports Detroit. Today we're going to talk about how the Lions have already started to kind of look for David Montgomery's replacement and how Montgomery might not be around as long as we think he might. Let's start off with the Montgomery part of this. Obviously, the last 2 years have been really good. Him and Jahmyr Gibbs, the Sonic and Knuckles duo, they have come very, very close to being one of those duos that can do 1,000 yards each. It's really hard to do, really hard to achieve, but they keep almost doing it. Pesky injuries get in the way, but the Lions rewarded Montgomery with a nice 2-year extension in October. That would lead you to believe, hey, they want him here until 2027 when that deal runs out. But when you look at the way that contract is structured, the ball is in the Lions' court on this one. They have the opportunity to move on from Montgomery after the 2025 season with very little dead money, and they'll save $15 million over the course of 2026 and 2027. That's something you have to pay attention to. So if Montgomery comes out, doesn't have that big of a year, maybe they decide it's time. But going into this season, everything's going to be geared much more towards Jahmyr Gibbs than it was David Montgomery. Just considering some of the coaching hires like Tashard Choice and John Morton and moving Scotty Montgomery over to the receivers, it just seems like this team really wants to run the ball a lot in 2025, and they want to run it with Jahmyr Gibbs. So that could make Montgomery take a bit of a back seat. With that said, the Lions have already started to meet with some running backs that are going to be out in this 2025 NFL Draft. For example, they had a top 30 visit with UC Davis running back Lan Larison. Really interesting player that I highly recommend you guys watch the film on this guy. Went over 2,000 all-purpose yards last year. The only guy who had more yards than him was Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, who's going to be potentially a top 15 pick in this draft. Obviously, he's an FCS guy, and you wonder, has he faced any really good competition? But sometimes when you have it, you have it. This guy could be a running back. He could be a receiver. Another guy is Josh Williams from LSU. Penny Boone, a Detroit native from Martin Luther King High School. Really good for Toledo. Had a bad year for Central Florida last year. And then there's Boston College's Deshaun Ward. Those are just the guys that we know about so far, the guys that are confirmed. The Lions could continue to be looking. They're going to all these pro days right now. Somebody that, Jaden Blue from Texas, who just worked with Tashard Choice, that's somebody you have to keep an eye on. You don't know. The Lions are not a needs-based drafting team. They've said that a million times, and they'll say it a million more times until people finally understand it. And if they decide when they get to a certain point, if the best player available there is a running back and they can kind of move forward with whatever their plan is going to be there, they're going to do it. And they're showing that they have no problem doing that and looking at those players and coming up with a potential plan. And this is just something that you have to think about, something you have to be aware about. While we love David Montgomery in Detroit, everybody loves him, don't want him to go anywhere. It's certainly a possibility that he could be, and it's something that you have to be paying attention to. So we'll see what happens in the draft in April. Until then, we'll see you next time.